Hi everyone, my name is Tom Pettit, and I am looking forward to going on a church history tour with you in July, which is less than 2 months from now. At the time of this recording, it's May 13th, and your tour is beginning on July 15th. So just a hair over 2 months from now, we're going to be meeting together to go to these historic sites together. Now, as you know, the church historical sites are going to be opening on May 28th, which is exciting. It's thrilling. I want to give you an update as to what open means. As I've been communicating with the missionaries at each historic site, and as I've been communicating with the site directors who are kind of the boss, the people in charge of the sites, I've been able to discover exactly what open means. And so I want to share with you exactly what to expect when we arrive at each of these historic sites. So I'm going to take you briefly through our itinerary, go through each historic site and tell you what's going to happen and what's not going to happen so that you're fully aware and your expectations are known of what to expect when we get to those historic sites. There's two things I want you to keep in mind though as I go through the itinerary and tell you exactly what open means. First, the governor of New York has said multiple times, including today, that he fully expects that New York, come July 1st, will be 100% open. No restrictions. Will the church follow suit and be back to normal at their church historic sites on July 1st? I don't know. Are they going to ease into it and keep their restrictions at the church historic sites that they currently have? Are they going to still be in effect in July? Maybe. And I think as we look at it, we should probably think and prepare mentally to expect that the church, the restrictions that the church has imposed on themselves at each of these historic sites will probably be in force even come July. But will they be? I don't know. We'll just have to see. And that's why I'll continually update you if things change. So as I explained to you how the church is opening on May 28th, keep in mind that July 1st, New York's planning to be open, and there's a good chance that the church will follow suit. I also want you to keep in mind one other thing, and that's my own experience and the experience of others. In that, when I visited the church historical sites for the first time, it was very different than every time that I have visited since. I have had people come on my church history tours in the past and return for another trip with a different family member or a friend or whatever, and they tell me the same, that the second time is much better than the first time. The reason being is the first time people go onto the church historic sites, they're looking to satisfy their educational desires. What happened here? Who, why, what, when, where? Why did the Lord give this revelation at this particular time in this particular location? And what was it like to live here? What was Joseph and Emma's daily lifestyle like, and how did they farm, and where did they farm, and what did they farm? And so we're trying to just drink out of this fire hose of information. And oftentimes that desire to gather information pushes out our opportunity to have a spiritual experience. And so like me, when others return to church historical sites for a second time, they have the education and it's on the back burner now. So now they can walk onto these sacred sites and have a spiritual experience. Well, on May 28th, when the church historical sites open, I have learned that reservations are required for a guided tour, and those guided tours are limited to 8 people, and tours will begin every 30 minutes. So, as a tour group, we could put 16 people through a guided tour of each site every hour. It's going to take several hours to get us all through. For that reason, the site directors are not allowing tours to make reservations, because then we would monopolize half a day, and they want to leave opportunities for families and for other small groups who are visiting the sites not knowing about this reservation requirement to be able to access the sites and have an opportunity. And so I'm not allowed or not able to make reservations for our group, at least currently. Come July, that might be completely different. So with that, my plan, if things don't change between now and July when we go together to these sites, is to make sure that you have the educational experience up front. so that when we arrive on site and you're able to explore freely throughout each historic site, that you have the spiritual experience. So normally what I do on a church history site is I've been there enough times that I know the script of the sister missionaries, the stories they tell, the doctrine that they refer to, and everything that they share. And so I, on the bus, will share with the group all the information leading up to where I know the sister missionaries will pick up. They share their stories and insights, and then where they leave off, when we get back on the bus, I pick up and continue with the story. So now what's different? I'm going to be telling that middle portion. So even if you don't have a guided tour with a sister missionary, you're not going to miss anything. In fact, I'm going to take more time than the sister missionaries take or are able to take to share more information with you, more stories, more details, more doctrinal insights. And so that way, when you arrive at each historic site, you get off the bus and now you've got the education behind you, and now you've got different eyes that are open, and you're now ready to experience those sites. So with all of that in mind, let me take you through the itinerary, each site, so you know what to expect. On July 15th, you fly into Rochester, New York. I'll get you from the hotel to the, or from the airport to the hotel, and or give you the instructions, as I've told you before in the welcome packets and the updates. I'll give you all that ground transportation information in a later communication so that you'll be able to make your way from the airport to the hotel. There's no group activities that day, so you can arrive anytime you'd like. July 16th, we head to Palmyra. Now, the hotel has given me a ballroom there at the hotel, so we're going to be gathering that morning for the first time as a group, and I'm going to be giving you all this education about Palmyra, everything that took place in Palmyra. We're going to spend about an hour doing that. We're then going to get on the bus. I'm going to continue to share that information with you. So then as we approach Palmyra and get into town, you're now going to have an experience there, a spiritual experience. And what that spiritual experience looks like, of course, is up to you. Our first stop is going to be the Hill Cumorah. Now, normally, pre-COVID, I wouldn't take groups into the Hill Cumorah Visitor Center because there's nothing there that you can't find everywhere else. Inside the visitor center are interactive kiosks, which are closed because they don't want you touching a kiosk and then having somebody else come behind you and touching that same kiosk and then licking their finger or something, however they're going to transmit viruses or germs. And so all those kiosks are closed anyway. So what I do and what we will do is we will go to the Hill Cumorah. Standing at the base, I share with you stories of things that took place there at the hill. You then have an opportunity to explore the hill, to climb all the way to the top. The Hill Cumorah is open. COVID never closed it. And so our Hill Cumorah experience will be the same as it always has been. From there, we go to the Grandin Building. The Grandin Building is where the Book of Mormon was published, and they give guided tours of the interior, showing you the replica machinery and whatnot that was used to produce the copies of the Book of Mormon. Of course, as I explained, we can't get a guided tour reservation to go through the building, but the bus is going to drop us off right in front, and so we'll have an opportunity to visit the exterior of that building. Also, while we are there, there's a few gift shops downtown that you might be interested in. But beyond that, there's the intersection, the famous intersection with the four churches, each different denomination represented by each church. We stop there, we take a look at those churches, and we talk about the things that are contained in the Pearl of Great Price that led up to the first vision. We then cross the street to Alvin Smith's gravesite. Alvin Smith was the older brother of Joseph, and it's not that we just visit to pay our respects, but his story, Alvin's story, is an amazing story as it relates to the restoration that was occurring at the time of his passing. From there, so we're going to have a lot of time downtown Palmyra, and then from there we go to the Smith family farm, where there's a reconstructed home and an original home. A reconstructed home where Moroni visited, the original home where the Smiths lived during those years that Joseph would annually visit the hill. Also there at the Smith family farm is, of course, the Sacred Grove. COVID did not shut down the Sacred Grove. It's open. There's never missionaries there for guided tours, and so your experience at the Sacred Grove is just the same as it always has been in the past and always will be in the future. From there, we'll visit the exterior of the Palmyra Temple. Of course, at this point, the Palmyra Temple is not available for us to do any temple work, but we will take the opportunity to visit the exterior of that temple. And I'll tell you stories of things of how that building came about and how that site was selected and whatnot. July 17th, we visit Niagara Falls. If you go to their website, they're selling tickets to Maid of the Mist and all the other attractions. Of course, I've got those tickets for you. And so Niagara Falls expects to be fully open. They're planning on being just open as normal, and we'll have a great day at Niagara Falls. On July 18th, which is a Sunday, again, we'll be back in the ballroom of the hotel, and I'm going to give you a lot of historical background, historical context of doctrine and revelation that was received at the sites we'll be visiting on this day. I'm going to tell you a lot of the stories. We're going to get on the bus while we're traveling. I'm going to keep telling you all these stories. And our first stop is going to be the Peter Whitmer Farm. So when you get off the bus at the Peter Whitmer Farm, you've got the education done already. And so you get off the bus and you have a spiritual, wonderful experience while you're there. We'll then visit the Priesthood Restoration Site. And at the Priesthood Restoration Site, same thing. We're going to go to a spot, a hill, that overlooks the Priesthood Restoration Site. As you're listening to me, behind me, you'll see the reconstructed home that Joseph and Emma lived in. And I'm going to tell you all the stories about Harmony, Pennsylvania, the coming forth of the Book of Mormon, the translation there, Oliver Cowdery arrives. We're going to go through everything. And then you'll have the opportunity to explore on your own the Priesthood Restoration Site. You can go and visit that home, the Isaac Hell home. Those are Emma's parents. You'll have an opportunity to visit the exterior of that home. You'll then have an opportunity to go into the Restoration Woods, where John the Baptist appeared to Joseph and Oliver, conferring the Aaronic priesthood upon them. That grove of trees never has missionaries, never a guided tour there, so your experience there will be the same as always. We'll then get together back on the bus and drive over to the Susquehanna River. There's never been any missionaries down there for guided tours, but I have something I do with each group there at the Susquehanna River. It's a very sacred place, and I share some really wonderful things there. And so your experience at the Susquehanna River will be as normal. The next place that we go is the John Johnson Farm in Hiram, Ohio. Now to get there, we've got to drive 4 hours from the place that we're overnighting in Scranton, Pennsylvania to Hiram, Ohio. And during that time, I'm going to talk your ear off. I'm going to tell you everything to get you educationally prepared for the Johnson Farm and Kirtland, Ohio, but also I'm going to share with you stories of places that we're not visiting. I'm going to share with you things about Adam-on-Diamond in Far West, Independence, a lot about Liberty Jail, the Mormon Battalion, the Pioneers, Nauvoo, Carthage. I'm going to share all those things with you during that 4-hour journey over to Hiram. And then when we get there, you're going to step off the bus again and have that experience at the Johnson Farm. The next day we go to Kirtland. Our first stop will be the Kirtland Temple. Now the Kirtland Temple is not owned by our church, and the people who do own the Kirtland Temple have decided that they are not opening the Kirtland Temple for interior tours in 2021. So no matter what the governor of New York does or whatever our church decides to do with our historic sites, the one thing that we can count on is the Kirtland Temple not being open for interior tours. But they do have a little amphitheater out there on the temple grounds, and we're going to utilize that, and I'm going to share with you all the stories, all the things that the Kirtland Temple tour guides share with you, plus more. I'm going to share with you all the spiritual things that took place in the Kirtland Temple. I'm going to talk about the building of the temple and the Lord's command to do so. I'm going to talk to you about the day of dedication and the things as recorded in section 110, where the Savior and ancient prophets appeared to Joseph and Oliver. So we're going to take our time on the temple grounds and have a great experience there. Our next stop will be the Morley Farm. The Morley Farm doesn't have missionaries there during normal times, but I always take groups there and I share with them all the stories about the Morley Farm, the revelations that were received there, and we have a great experience there at the Morley Farm. Next stop is what is referred to as Historic Kirtland Village, and what that comprises of is the Visitor Center and the Newell K. and Elizabeth Ann Whitney home and the Newell K. Whitney store. And it was in the upstairs level of the store where Joseph and Emma lived for a time. Joseph had his office there, and the School of the Prophets met. I'm going to tell you all those stories, of course, and share with you all the experiences that took place there. And you'll have an opportunity to walk around historic Kirtland and be at those locations, having the education behind you, now having that spiritual, or the opportunity to have a spiritual experience. Now, two more things that I'd like to share with you as far as having these spiritual experiences by going onto these sites and being able to walk around all these historic sites on your own, somewhat of a self-guided tour. At each stop, when you get off the bus, I'm going to hand you an envelope. And in that envelope is going to be more details of more stories. It's going to have some doctrinal things for you to consider at each of these sites. It's going to be set up, I'm doing it, I'm writing it, preparing all of it, but it's going to be set up kind of like a mini Come Follow Me lesson that you're familiar with. And so you're going to be able to take that envelope with the information inside to each of these sites. And when you're standing on the doorstep of the Newell K. Whitney store, you're going to open up that envelope and you're going to have some more information to go through. Not educational-wise, but some things to kind of guide you into having a spiritual experience there and really considering the sacredness of where you stand. The second thing that I want to share with you, and this is what I will leave you with, is that as I have talked to each of the missionaries at these historic sites, they all tell me the same thing, that they're excited that we're coming. They tell me that they want you to know that you are welcome and invited to come to these sites. The grounds are open. They're open right now, today. You will be free to roam the grounds of those sites and have those experiences. They've also shared with me that perhaps, maybe, so if you want to count on this or not, it's up to you. But they said, if we find that the sister missionaries have a break between reserved tours, and you're welcome to approach the sister missionaries, ask them questions, ask them to share stories with you. And on occasion, they said maybe the sister missionaries, if they've got an opportunity between tours, that they may open the door and say, come in, look around, take a picture. Come through the front door, exit through the back door. It won't be a guided tour, but it will give you an opportunity to just at least walk through and see the interior of some of these places. Is that guaranteed? No, not right now at least, but we'll see how things change over time if the church updates the way things stand as they currently do. Now, you might be listening to this thinking, hey, that sounds better than what I was expecting. You might be thinking, oh, that's just what I expected. Or you might be thinking, oh, this doesn't sound so good. Wherever you are on that scale is just fine with me. That's why I've gotten rid of the cancellation policy. So if this doesn't sound like exactly what you want to do, just go ahead and let me know, and I'll get you a refund and cancel your registration. If you're wanting to move forward as I've described it, then great. I'm excited to go with you, and I will continue to update you as there's things to provide updates on. And things are booked, things are ready. We're just waiting around for July. And so we'll continue to be in touch and communicate as we get closer to July and have this opportunity to visit these historic sites the way that I've described them, at least. And so if you have any questions, feel free to email me or call me. I welcome both. And with that, I look forward to visiting with you soon.